What's going on, everybody? This is Jose Betancourt, and as always, thank you for viewing my video. So I wanted to do a quick update as far as my new hobby. I stated that I'm into photography. I'm an amateur by all means, but I went ahead and I upgraded my camera. I had a 3200, then I jumped over to the Nikon D3300, and now I jumped over to the D7100. There you go. I do apologize for the lighting situation. Now, I didn't buy all three models individually. I had the capability or the ability to return them. And I saw the D7100 for $799, just the body, and I jumped ahead and I did it because I felt like I was further along and ready to make the next big jump. So technically, I can jump. Actually, I can use this camera for about 4 or 5 years because of all the features that are presented to me. And at the end of the day, it all depends on my skill level, how I compose an image, how I utilize the lighting, and how I, just my skill, my eye. The camera is the tool, but it's up to me to be skillful with that tool. So a camera, very expensive camera, doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to take amazing images and I'm going to make a living off photography. At the end of the day, I could have stood with the 3200 and buy some amazing lenses and practice and hone my skills and then work my way up. But me being me, I saw the opportunity and I went ahead and I jumped and bought the D7100. So I went from an entry-level DSLR to a semi-pro DSLR, I guess. From all the reviews, it has some semi-professional features. For example, you have dual card slots, you have a microphone and headset jack. So I can monitor sound, I can connect a boom microphone to the top and take video. And this camera takes really good video, a lot better than the video camera you're watching now. And that gives me a lot of flexibility because I take videos, obviously, and I take photos. So I have the best of both worlds, at least for me. So as I stated, it all depends on the type of lenses you own. I own a 35mm prime lens, which means there's no zooming. I have to zoom with my feet. That's the old saying. I have a 55 to 200mm lens. There we go. Once again, I apologize for the lighting. So this gives me the capability of taking images at a distance. And I tested it out. You're going to see some images pop up on the screen. I tested it out at Comic-Con. I went to a rooftop, tried it during the day. Because of the low aperture number, it goes from 4 to 5.6. So at 55mm, I got 4. I have a f-stop of 4, and then at 200mm, it goes to 5.6. And of course, on my camera, I could set it up to 22. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but right now I'm at 3200. That's my ISO. 2.8 is my aperture, and 100 is the shutter speed. So every time I lower this one, this lens goes to 1.8 to 35mm. You see there, 1.8. But I could take it all the way to about 22, I believe. And then, of course, ISO. I could take it up to 6400 or go up to, I believe, 12,500, something like that. And then shutter speed, just adjust it. The higher the shutter speed, the faster the shutter is going to perform. I mean, that's no other way of putting it. So if there's someone running or someone driving a motorcycle, I want a high shutter speed to freeze the image. Or if I want some blur, I can adjust it to a lower shutter speed so I can get some blur into the shot. There's all types of way to manipulate lighting, to manipulate a situation. You're composing an image. And there goes the D7100 tag. There we go. So you're composing an image. You're utilizing light. You're utilizing your subject, which is what you're taking the photo of. You're manipulating the ISO so that you have light sensitivity, aperture. So with 1.8, which is what this lens is capable of doing. Of course, there are lenses that go a lot lower. So if I want an image, which I did at Comic-Con with a 50mm lens, that also was a prime lens at 1.8, I wanted the subject to be the highlight. That was the story I was telling. So the background was blurred and my subject was the highlight of the photo. So that is what I like to do with the 35mm lens. Of course, it gives me a wider viewing angle. So I could either choose at 2200 at 22, I can choose to take a photo, let's say a group photo, and have everything in the background be in the focus as well. Or if I want to take a group photo and have some blur in the background, I would wrestle with the aperture. Take it from 22, maybe to 16 or 10. It just, you're experimenting. And at a certain point with practice, with years of practice, of course, I can tell what I want to do ahead of time. There are people who can do that. I can't. Now, I do get lucky sometimes. I do take a shot, and I take a shot of a photo of a subject, and I want to tell a story. But then when I look at it, when I get home and I put it into the computer and I look at it, there's a totally different story going on somewhere else. Some people can take a different story from the photo you took and interpret their own story. And that's the beauty of photography, at least for me. Very therapeutic. I enjoy it a lot. I've always taken photos with my phone. That is why I went with the iPhone 6 Plus. It has image stabilization built into it, and it takes great photos. The D7100 takes amazing photos. With the 35mm lens, I have some flexibility. There's a 1.3 crop factor feature on the D7100, and I use that to zoom in a little bit. So it gives me the capability of having, of somewhat simulating a 50mm lens, and that's why I returned that and I went with the bigger lens to give me more flexibility. So I'm still learning. I'm still learning what type of photographer I am. When I'm home, for example, one guy that I subscribe to, the Angry Photographer on YouTube, he said very clearly, learn the camera, learn it like the back of your hand, learn where the buttons are at so that when the time comes and you're taking photos, you're not looking down trying to figure out how to program something, how to change your ISO, how to change your aperture. You know all that instantly so that you're focusing on taking a great photo instead of looking down and possibly missing the opportunity to take a great photo. I took that to heart, and that's what I did. I spent hours. I still, every night, take a photo in the dark, take images in different lighting situations, try to wrestle with the controls so that eventually I'm not wrestling with them. I know I've used that word several times. So when I say I'm wrestling with the controls, that means I'm still struggling to remember where everything's at. I'm still trying to get accustomed to it, but I'm getting way better. When I first bought this camera and I went from the 3300, I felt intimidated. I was like, oh my God, I overdid it. And I felt really intimidated by the different menu system. As a matter of fact, here I am flying through the menu system, through the controls, and like I have a button back here, down here set up so I can preview my images and then press it. Instead of going up here, which gives me that capability as well, I use the button up here. So when I'm holding the camera, I use this button to look at my image and then quickly get rid of my image, and I can continue to take photos. I also eliminated the need to hold down the shutter button halfway to focus. I use a dedicated focus button now. So I focus, I look at my subject, focus, and then that focal point will stay in focus even if I move the camera a little bit to change the composition. And then I can use the shutter to do exactly what it's meant to do, and that is take an image. So I learned that by watching people, by practicing. by saying what works for me. Learn the camera, regardless if it's a 3200, 3300, or a 7100. Learn the camera, learn the menu system. You need to learn that because it's a tool that you're using to create something. And if you don't learn your camera, you can't take good pictures. You'll get lucky, but you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. And that was the first thing I wanted to do. If I wanted to be serious about photography, I spent $800 on this thing. I spent about $1,000 overall on equipment. So I need to learn it. If I don't learn this piece of equipment, then what am I doing spending the money? How can I say that I'm an enthusiast without learning the camera in and out? I'm still learning it. There's a lot to learn, but that is why I jumped from a 3300 to a 7100. I saw the opportunity to kind of be future proof with a hobby that I truly enjoy, and I don't regret it. This camera is super. It's I don't know. There's just a build quality to this camera that is impressive. It's a little beefy, but I like it. I truly like it. I got big hands. It suits me just fine. I was gonna go with a mirrorless camera, the Sony A6000. Excuse me, A6000, which is extremely small and light, and has most of the capabilities of this camera, but it doesn't have the audio jack, the microphone jack, doesn't have dual card slots, and it just doesn't have the sturdiness of the 7100. And I had equipment already, lenses, flash, tripod, bag, all type of things, a battery grip. I had all that for the D7100 already, so I didn't want to start all over again. But I'm very happy. But quickly, one thing I learned about photography, you don't have to jump to the next best thing. It's not like an iPhone where every year there's going to be a brand new iPhone and you need to get it. With photography, it all comes down to your skill level, your commitment, the type of lenses you're going to buy. That is extremely important. And you can use an old school film camera and and live comfortably by making a living doing that. It all depends on your skill level. And I guess that's why I enjoy photography so much, because it's a challenge. It's a way to create a story. And of course, I love creating podcasts. I love creating video. I love creating a story through my photos. It's very therapeutic, as I stated. And I wanted to get serious, and here I am. Here's that proof that I'm serious. So in the comment section, let me know if you like the photos that were presented to you in this video. Let me know if you're into photos, what camera you own. If you have any advice you can give me. And if you have links to your photos, please share them. So, as always, I'm Jose Betancourt. Thank you for viewing my videos. I'll talk to you soon.